Have you ever seen a cat sweating? Most people haven't. In fact, if you've lived with cats for years, there's a good chance you've never once noticed sweat on their fur. That's because cats cool their bodies very differently from humans. When we get hot, sweat glands across our skin activate almost immediately. Moisture evaporates from our bodies and helps us release heat. Cats don't have that luxury. According to researchers, cats sweat primarily through the pads of their paws. Those tiny little toe beans underneath their feet are one of the only places where noticeable sweating actually occurs. The rest of their furry bodies contribute very little to cooling through perspiration. Which raises a fascinating question. If cats can't sweat like humans, how do they survive hot weather? And perhaps even more interesting, why do some cats leave tiny wet paw prints when they're nervous or frightened? The answer reveals something remarkable about feline evolution. Because your cat's paws aren't just for walking. They're connected to survival, communication, temperature control, and even emotional responses. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at your cat's paws the same way again. But first, let's start with the surprising truth most cat owners never learn. When people think about sweating, they imagine moisture appearing across the skin. That's normal for humans. But cats evolved differently. If your cat suddenly became hot, you probably wouldn't see beads of sweat forming on their fur. Instead, the moisture appears primarily through specialized sweat glands located in the paw pads. These glands release tiny amounts of sweat that help regulate body temperature. It's not a large cooling system. It's actually quite limited compared to our own. But for cats, every little bit helps. Most of the time, the amount is so small that owners never notice it. However, on smooth surfaces like tile floors, countertops, or veterinary examination tables, some cats leave faint damp paw prints behind. Those little prints are often the only visible evidence that your cat is sweating at all. And surprisingly, heat isn't always the reason. Sometimes something else activates those sweat glands. Something emotional. Have you ever taken your cat to the veterinarian? Maybe you've noticed they seemed nervous. Their eyes became wider. Their posture changed. They became unusually quiet or unusually vocal. And afterward, you may have noticed tiny damp footprints on the examination table. Many owners assume the room was warm. But stress is often the real cause. Cats can sweat through their paws when they're anxious, frightened, or overwhelmed. It's remarkably similar to what happens to humans before a stressful event. Some people get sweaty palms before public speaking. Others experience it before job interviews or important exams. Cats experience a comparable biological response. When stress hormones activate, the body prepares itself for action. Heart rate increases. Breathing patterns change. And the sweat glands in the paw pads become more active. This means your cat's paws may sometimes reveal emotions that aren't obvious from their behavior alone. Even a cat that appears calm on the outside may be experiencing significant stress internally. Their paws quietly tell the story. Now here's where things get really interesting. If cats can only sweat through their paws, that system alone wouldn't be enough to prevent overheating. Nature had to provide other solutions. One of the most important is grooming. Cats spend a remarkable amount of time licking their fur. Most people assume they're simply cleaning themselves. And while cleanliness is certainly part of the reason, grooming serves another purpose. Cooling. When saliva spreads across the coat, evaporation removes heat from the body. The process works similarly to sweating. As moisture evaporates, body temperature decreases. This is one reason cats often groom more frequently during warmer months. They're helping regulate their temperature. So the next time you see your cat carefully licking its fur on a hot afternoon, remember that they're not just cleaning themselves. They're running their own natural cooling system. A cooling system that has helped cats survive for thousands of years. One of the smartest ways cats avoid overheating is surprisingly simple. They don't create unnecessary heat in the first place. Unlike many animals, cats are masters of energy conservation. Their wild ancestors often lived in hot environments where wasting energy could be dangerous. Every movement required effort. Every hunt required strategy. Every calorie mattered. As a result, cats evolved to become incredibly efficient. During the hottest parts of the day, wild cats often rest. They seek shade. They remain inactive. They conserve energy until conditions improve. Modern house cats inherited those same instincts. That's why your cat may spend hours sleeping peacefully near a window one moment and suddenly become active later in the evening. It's not laziness. It's biology. By reducing activity during warm periods, cats naturally reduce heat production. Their famous love of naps may actually be one of the smartest survival strategies ever developed. Most people think paws are simply adorable. And they are. But they also perform an incredible number of functions. Paw pads provide traction. They absorb shock during jumps. They help cats move quietly while stalking prey. They contain sensitive nerve endings that help cats understand the surfaces they're walking on. And hidden within those pads are the sweat glands we've been talking about. That's an impressive amount of responsibility for such a small part of the body. Every step your cat takes relies on those pads. Every leap. Every climb. Every landing. In many ways, the paw pads are one of the most sophisticated tools nature ever designed. And because they're constantly in contact with the world, they reveal valuable information about both physical health and emotional well-being. Those little toe beans aren't just cute. They're engineering masterpieces. Most cat owners rarely think about sweating. But understanding this small detail can actually help you better understand your pet. A few damp paw prints on a warm day are usually normal. A nervous cat sweating during a stressful experience is also common. But there are times when temperature regulation becomes more serious. Cats can overheat. And because they have limited sweating ability, they depend heavily on their environment. Fresh water matters. Shade matters. Air circulation matters. A cool resting place matters. Understanding how cats manage body temperature allows owners to make better decisions during hot weather. It helps protect them from heat stress. And it helps us appreciate how different cats truly are from humans. Sometimes the smallest biological details reveal the biggest insights. And few details are smaller, or more fascinating, than the sweat glands hidden inside a cat's paws. So the next time someone asks whether cats sweat, you'll know the answer. Yes. They absolutely do. But not in the way most people imagine. Those tiny paw pads beneath your cat's feet are part of an extraordinary system shaped by thousands of years of evolution. They help regulate temperature. They reveal stress. They support movement. And they quietly contribute to survival every single day. Because beneath those soft little toe beans lies a story of adaptation, intelligence, and resilience. A story most people never notice. And perhaps that's one of the reasons cats remain so fascinating. The closer we look, the more extraordinary they become. Sometimes the biggest secrets aren't hidden in plain sight. Sometimes they're hidden in the smallest paw prints on the floor.